Today we will be discussing the Supreme Court case of George Reynolds versus the United States. George Reynolds was married to a woman by the name of Mary Ann Teddaham. He was married to Mary Ann while also being married to Amelia Jane Schofield. Therefore, he was arrested under federal statutes due to the fact that it was illegal at the time to be married to multiple people. George Reynolds was the secretary of the Mormon Church to the leader Brigham Young. He challenged the anti-bigamy statute that was going up against him. Reynolds was convicted in his territorial court and then convicted was affirmed by the Supreme Court of the territory, which led it to be determined by the Supreme Court, at the time the Weighty Court, which argued the case on November 13th and 14th of 1878, and was eventually decided on January 5th of 1879. When looking to the facts of this case, we must look at the federal statutes that were already in place, which the law stated that every person having a husband or wife living who marries another when married or single in a territory or other place over which the United States have exclusive jurisdiction is guilty of bigamy and shall be punished by a fine no more than $500 and by imprisoned for the term of no more than 5 years. Reynolds had clearly violated this statute by being married to 2 women, but regardless he claimed religious freedoms because of the First Amendment right to free exercise of religion. Although his lawyers claimed it was unconstitutional to take away his rights, it clearly was an infringement on these individual rights and in the free exercise clause. But that still doesn't mean the Supreme Court was up to interpretation of federal law and how the First Amendment was perceived.
There were 2 sides of the argument. For Reynolds, the First Amendment guarantees that persons will be free from any law prohibiting the free exercise of religion. No federal law could interfere with a person's religious beliefs or with actions based on that belief. The federal law was unconstitutional, and Reynolds' conviction should be overturned. For the United States, this case presented an obvious and compelling need to regulate a question of behavior offensive to public will. The First Amendment or any other amendment cannot be used to shield a person against criminal behavior. No person may violate the law and claim an exemption from punishment by reason of a religious belief. The law was constitutional, and the conviction and punishment of Reynolds were just and appropriate for a civilized society. The Supreme Court ruled against Reynolds and said that the First Amendment did not and could not protect a person against criminal behavior. Chief Justice Morrison R. Waite, writing for a unanimous court, held that the statute can punish criminal activity without regards to religious belief. The First Amendment protected religious belief, but it did not protect religious practices that were judged to be criminal, such as bigamy. Those who practice polygamy could no more be exempt from the law than those who may wish to practice human sacrifices as part of their religious belief.